When you step back and really look at life, you start to notice something. Value recognizes value. The same way a diamond don't have to scream to be precious. A woman who knows her worth don't have to beg for respect. She carries it in her walk, in her choices, in the way she moves through the world. And men see that. They feel it before a word is even spoken. See, it's easy to mistake attention for respect. It's easy to think somebody showing up means they value you. But a man doesn't truly value a woman just because he's attracted to her. He values the woman who values herself. Because self-value sets the tone. It's the difference between being chosen for the moment and being honored for a lifetime. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Why a man looks at a woman who respects herself differently. Why her confidence, her boundaries, her discipline, and her presence separate her from the noise. Because at the end of the day, love might spark the fire, but respect, that's what keeps it burning. When we talk about self-worth, we're talking about the foundation of how somebody moves in life. It's not about being arrogant. It's not about looking down on people. It's about knowing what you bring to the table and refusing to accept less than you deserve. When a woman values herself, everything around her shifts. Her energy, her decisions, her relationships, even the way she walks into a room. It all sends a message. That message is simple. I know who I am, and I'm not lowering that standard for anybody. A lot of people confuse self-worth with being difficult or unapproachable, but that's not the case. Self-worth is clarity. It's a woman knowing what she stands for and what she won't stand for. When she has that clarity, she doesn't waste time chasing people who don't see her value. She doesn't waste energy trying to convince somebody to treat her right. Instead, she invests that time back into herself, into her growth, her peace, her goals. That energy becomes magnetic. The right kind of people can't help but respect it, while the wrong kind get uncomfortable and fall away. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. And to think about it, a woman with no sense of self-worth is like a house with no foundation. Anybody can walk in, leave a mess, disrespect the space, and walk out without consequences. But when self-worth is there, it's like reinforced walls, strong locks, and clear rules for who can step inside. A man sees that. He recognizes that if he doesn't come correct, he won't even make it through the door. That's why self-worth sets the standard. It creates a filter. It separates those who are serious from those who just want to play games. When a woman values herself, she doesn't just talk about standards, she lives them. If she says she won't tolerate disrespect, in the moment someone disrespects her, she shows them the door. If she says she's focused on growth, then she's not entertaining distractions that pull her off her path. That consistency builds trust. A man might not always say it out loud, but deep down, he respects a woman more when her actions match her word. That's because it shows discipline, it shows strength. And strength is attractive, not just physical strength, but the inner strength that says, I can stand on my own 2 feet, but I choose to share my space with people who add value. There's another layer to it too. When a woman knows her worth, she doesn't operate from a place of desperation. She's not afraid of being alone because she knows her own company has value. That independence is powerful. It changes the dynamic in relationships. Instead of attaching herself to someone because she needs validation, she connects with someone because she wants to. That difference is huge. A man can feel the difference between a woman who's with him out of fear of being alone and a woman who's with him because she genuinely sees something in him. And that choice, rooted in strength, makes her presence even more valuable. Self-worth also impacts communication. A woman who values herself doesn't play games with her words. She's clear about what she expects, what she can give, and what she won't accept. She doesn't sit in silence when something bothers her, hoping it'll fix itself. She speaks up because she knows her voice carries weight. And in that honesty, she creates space for real respect. A man values that because it removes confusion. He doesn't have to guess where he stands, and he doesn't have to wonder what she wants. She makes it known, and that kind of directness builds a healthier connection. But here's the real game. Self-worth is contagious. When a woman stands strong in her value, she inspires the people around her to raise their own standards. A man who's serious about his life will see how she carries herself and feel challenged to elevate, not because she demands it with words, but because her example makes him want to match her energy. If he was moving sloppy, he starts to tighten up. If he wasn't respecting himself, he starts thinking about how to do better. That's the ripple effect of self-worth. It doesn't just protect her, it elevates everyone she's connected to. Now, some men will run from that type of woman. They'll say she's too much or she's hard to deal with. But the truth is, they just can't meet the standards she set. And that's not her loss, it's protection. Because if she didn't value herself, she'd let those same men take up space in her life, wasting her time and draining her energy. By knowing her worth, she's cutting off the dead weight before it even gets comfortable. That keeps her path clear for someone who's really ready to build. So when we say self-worth sets a standard, we're saying it creates the blueprint for how life unfolds. It dictates how she's treated, what kind of energy she allows, and the type of man who steps up to meet her. A woman who values herself teaches people how to value her without ever having to beg for it. She doesn't ask for permission to be respected. She demands it by the way she carries herself. And the man who sees that, who recognizes that strength, understands her value isn't negotiable. It's already written in the way she moves. Energy attracts energy is one of those truths you can't really deny because it plays out in every part of life. People feel it without even realizing it. When someone walks into a room, before they even open their mouth, their energy speaks. The way they stand, the way they look around, the way they carry themselves, it sends a signal. And when we talk about a woman who respects herself, her energy says it all. It tells the world that she knows her value, and that message pulls certain people closer while pushing others away. That's the power of energy. It doesn't lie, and it doesn't wait for permission to make an impact. When a woman has self-respect, she naturally gives off an energy that's firm but calm, confident but not arrogant. You can feel that she doesn't need validation from the outside. She's not seeking approval to feel complete. That independence shows up in her body language, her tone, her choices. And the thing is, men who recognize real value are drawn to that. They see a woman who isn't begging for attention, and it makes them pay more attention. They see someone who doesn't just follow the crowd, and it makes them want to know more. It's like gravity, strength pulls strength. Now, the opposite is also true. When someone doesn't value themselves, that energy is noticeable too. You can tell when someone is desperate for approval, when they're constantly trying to be noticed, when they'll take whatever attention they can get. That type of energy attracts the wrong kind of people. It attracts users, manipulators, people who want easy access without responsibility. So in the same way self-respect draws in men who want to build, lack of it draws in men who just want to take. Energy is the filter. It tells you who's real and who's temporary. Think about relationships that last. They don't survive just off looks or words. They last because of energy alignment. When a woman values herself, her energy demands that the people around her rise to that level. A man can't come in with disrespect or inconsistency and expect to stay. Her energy won't allow it. And if he's serious, that energy motivates him to step his game up. He starts moving sharper, speaking clearer, showing up in a way that matches her. That's how energy creates balance. It forces growth. It's deeper than attraction too. Energy creates the tone of the whole relationship. If a woman is always second guessing herself, always bending just to keep someone around, the energy in that space becomes unstable. A man might stick around, but it'll be off balance, full of frustration and control. But when she values herself, the energy is steady. It's rooted. She doesn't have to demand respect every day because her energy already commands it. That consistency builds peace. And peace is something every man with vision craves, because without peace, you can't focus, you can't grow, you can't build anything that lasts. There's also a spiritual side to this. Energy attracts energy because what you give out is what you get back. When a woman carries self-love, she attracts people who are ready to give love, not just take it. When she moves with discipline, she attracts people who respect discipline. The energy she puts out becomes a mirror, reflecting back into her life. That's why you'll notice that women who hold themselves with respect often end up surrounded by people who support, protect, and uplift them. It's not luck, it's alignment. Men notice energy even when they can't explain it. A woman who respects herself doesn't have to announce it. She doesn't have to put up a list of rules on the wall. Her energy sets those rules for her. A man who comes in half-hearted feels out of place. A man with real intentions feels welcome but also challenged to rise. That's the silent power of energy. It creates the standard without a single word being spoken. But it's not only about who she attracts, it's also about who she repels. A woman who values herself doesn't get caught up with every man that shows interest, because her energy makes it clear who doesn't belong. Men who are looking to take advantage, who are used to preying on insecurity, usually don't even try once they sense the strength in her. They might test it for a moment, but that energy lets them know quickly that it won't work. That saves her time, saves her peace, and saves her from relationships that would only drain her. This is why energy is so important. People can say anything with their mouth, they can promise the world, but energy always reveals the truth. A woman who values herself doesn't have to play guessing games with who's real, because her energy attracts those who respect her and blocks those who don't. That's why men value it so much. It makes everything clear. Instead of confusion and mixed signals, her energy tells them exactly who she is, what she stands for, and how she expects to be treated. Boundaries protect growth, because without them, everything you've been building can get disrupted, drained, or destroyed before it ever has a chance to fully develop. A boundary isn't just a wall you put up to keep people out. It's a structure you create to protect what matters most to you. For a woman who values herself, boundaries are a reflection of that value. They're not about being cold or distant. They're about making sure her energy, her time, her peace, and her purpose are respected. A man who sees that understands that those boundaries aren't obstacles, they're guidelines. They're the framework that shows him how to move if he wants to stay in her life. When a woman doesn't set boundaries, she leaves the door open for chaos. People can walk in and out of her life whenever they want, taking what benefits them and leaving behind problems. That chaos makes it harder to focus, harder to grow, harder to reach goals. But when boundaries are clear, they act like guardrails, keeping distractions and disrespect from taking over. Growth requires consistency and focus, and boundaries create the space where those things can exist. That's why a man values a woman who has them. It shows discipline and self-respect, and it tells him that if he's gonna be part of her life, he has to move with the same kind of discipline. A woman with strong boundaries isn't someone who's impossible to reach. She's someone who knows where to draw the line. She knows what behavior she'll tolerate and what behavior she won't. If a man comes in with games, lies, or disrespect, he finds out quickly that he won't last around her. That doesn't mean she's cruel. It means she's clear, and clarity is powerful. It removes the gray areas that usually cause problems in relationships. When a man knows what's acceptable and what's not, he has a choice: rise to the standard or fall back. Either way, the woman protects her peace, and that protection is what allows her to keep growing. Boundaries also create balance. Without them, relationships can become one-sided, with one person giving everything and the other taking advantage. When a woman values herself enough to say no when necessary, she prevents that imbalance. She's shown that her energy isn't free for everyone to drain and that her growth is a priority. A man who respects her sees that as strength, not weakness. He recognizes that if she can protect her own growth, she can also protect what they build together. And it's exactly what makes her valuable. She doesn't just think about the present moment. She thinks about the bigger picture. A lot of people fear boundaries because they think it pushes others away. But the truth is, boundaries attract the right people. When a woman stands on her principles, men who don't want to play games respect it. They know she's not going to entertain disrespect, so if they want to stay, they have to bring something real to the table. That kind of energy creates a different type of connection, one built on mutual respect. It pushes both people to bring their best selves forward because neither one wants to cross a line that could damage the bond. Boundaries also teach accountability. When a man sees that a woman won't compromise her standards, it challenges him to check himself. If he's used to moving sloppy, being inconsistent, or crossing lines without consequences, being with a woman who values herself forces him to change. She doesn't have to lecture him. Her boundaries make it clear that certain behaviors won't work here. That's how she protects not only her own growth, but also encourages his. He realizes that if he wants to keep her in his life, he has to grow too. That's powerful because growth is contagious. There's another side too. Boundaries protect a woman from losing herself in a relationship. Sometimes without them, people give so much of themselves that they forget who they are. They compromise too much trying to hold on to someone, and in the process, they let go of their own dreams, their own goals, their own identity. But when boundaries are in place, she never forgets herself. She can love deeply, she can be present in a relationship, but she never sacrifices her growth to keep someone around. A man values that because he knows she's not dependent on him for her identity. She's whole on her own, and that kind of wholeness makes the connection even stronger. Growth requires space, discipline, and focus, and boundaries create that space. They filter out negativity, they block disrespect, they stop distractions before they can spread. Without boundaries, growth is fragile, but with them, growth becomes protected. A man who values a woman who values herself sees her boundaries not as limits, but as proof that she's serious about her life. And he knows that if he wants to be part of it, he has to be serious. Confidence creates balance because it shifts the way energy flows in a relationship, in a household, and even in the way two people approach life together. When a woman has confidence rooted in her self-worth, she doesn't need constant validation to feel whole. She doesn't need to lean on someone else to prove she matters. That stability creates a type of balance that both she and the man in her life can stand on. Instead of being a source of tension or insecurity, she becomes a source of peace. And that peace is something rare, something men recognize and hold on to when they see it. A woman without confidence often ends up depending on outside voices for approval. She wants reassurance every step of the way, and when she doesn't get it, the relationship becomes shaky. A man might feel like he has to constantly explain himself, constantly prove his love, constantly fill a gap she hasn't filled within herself. Over time, that can drain both people and throw the connection off balance. But when a woman values herself and carries confidence, that pressure doesn't exist. She knows who she is, so she doesn't need someone else to tell her every day. Of course, she appreciates love, affirmation, and affection, but her foundation isn't built on it. It's already solid before anyone else comes along. That's what creates balance. She can give and receive love without fear of losing herself in the process. Confidence also changes the way she communicates. When a woman is grounded in herself, she doesn't avoid hard conversations and she doesn't let small issues build up until they explode. She speaks her mind with respect, but with clarity. That honesty removes a lot of confusion that normally causes imbalance in relationships. A man doesn't have to play guessing games with her. He doesn't have to wonder if she's upset but hiding it. Her confidence gives her the courage to address things head on, which in turn allows the relationship to flow more smoothly. Balance comes from truth, and truth comes easier when confidence is in place. There's also a balance between independence and partnership that confidence protects. Some people swing too far to one side. They either give up everything for a relationship or hold on so tightly to independence that they won't let anyone in. But a confident woman finds the middle ground. She knows she can stand on her own, but she also knows the value of building with someone. She's not afraid to let a man be part of her life, but she doesn't collapse if he's not there. That balance makes the relationship healthier because both people can bring their strengths without one overpowering the other. Confidence radiates in the little things too. It's in the way she carries herself when she walks into a room. It's in the way she sets her goals and moves toward them without waiting for permission. It's in how she treats herself, from the words she speaks about her life to the standards she sets for her time. A man notices that. He feels it even if he can't explain it. And because her confidence creates such stability, it gives him space to focus on his own growth without always worrying about hers. That balance, her strength supporting his strength supporting hers, becomes the foundation of something lasting. Confidence also removes unnecessary competition. Sometimes when confidence is missing, relationships become battles for attention, validation, or control. But when a woman is confident, she doesn't see her partner as competition. She sees him as a teammate. She doesn't have to tear him down to feel important, and she doesn't shrink herself to let him shine. She understands there's room for both of them to succeed, and that mindset creates harmony. A man values that deeply because it makes the relationship a safe place, not another battlefield. And there's another level. Confidence attracts respect not just from her partner, but from the world around her. Friends, family, co-workers, strangers, they all respond differently when they encounter someone who knows her worth and isn't afraid to show it. That respect spills into her relationship too. When a man sees how others treat her with admiration, it reinforces what he already knows. She's valuable, not just to him, but in general. That external confirmation strengthens the bond because it reminds him he's building with someone solid, someone respected, someone who doesn't fold under pressure. Balance comes from confidence because it keeps insecurity from running the relationship. Without it, small problems become big ones, jealousy takes root, and fear dictates decisions. With it, there's calm, there's trust. There's a steady rhythm between two people who know who they are and what they're bringing to the table. A confident woman sets that rhythm naturally, and a man values her for it because it makes life smoother, clearer, and stronger. Value for you. Because what you choose to surround yourself with either pushes you forward or holds you back. When a man is thinking about his future, he's not only thinking about what he can achieve alone, but also about the type of partner who will walk beside him. A woman who values herself is never a distraction. She's an investment. Her presence feeds into his vision instead of draining it, because the way she carries herself, the way she protects her own growth, the way she makes decisions, all of it reinforces progress. For a man with real goals, that type of energy is priceless because it doesn't just add to his life, it multiplies it. A man who dreams big understands that not every connection can go with him on the journey. Some people are only built for the moment, not the future. They don't see beyond the here and now, and because of that, they can't contribute when it comes to building long term. But a woman who values herself is different. She moves with intention. She doesn't just think about today, she thinks about how today's choices impact tomorrow. That foresight fuels his vision, because now he's not walking alone, he's walking with someone who can see ahead with him. That shared perspective builds momentum, and momentum is everything when you're building something real. Value also means discipline. A woman who respects herself doesn't waste time entertaining people or situations that don't align with her goals. That same discipline becomes a strength in the relationship. When a man is chasing a vision, there will always be distractions, temporary temptations, negative voices, setbacks designed to throw him off track. A woman who values herself won't contribute to that noise. Instead, she'll reinforce focus because she already lives with boundaries and standards that protect her own progress. Being with her reminds him to stay sharp, to stay aligned, to keep moving with discipline. That reinforcement can be the difference between giving up and pushing through. When a man sees that a woman values herself, he sees stability. He knows she's not just with him for what he can provide today, but because she sees potential in where he's headed. That belief fuels him. Even the strongest man has moments of doubt, moments when the vision feels too far or the work feels too heavy. Having a woman who respects herself enough to stand firm beside him adds a kind of strength he can't get anywhere else. She's not pushing out of desperation. She's reminding him of who he is and what he's capable of, because she recognizes his value in the same way she recognizes her own. That mutual recognition creates a bond where both people fuel each other's vision. It also comes down to legacy. A man with vision isn't just thinking about money, status, or achievements. He's thinking about what lasts after him. A woman who values herself naturally thinks the same way, because self-value isn't shallow. It's rooted in growth, purpose, and the bigger picture. When she connects with him, she's not just looking at what he has now. She's looking at what they can build that will outlive both of them. That shared mindset is rare, and it's why men hold on to women who move like that. She's not just someone to enjoy the moment with, she's someone to build forever with. Her value also shows in the way she manages herself. She takes care of her mind, her body, her goals, and her relationships. That self-management proves to a man that she's not reckless with her life, and by extension, she won't be reckless with his. He knows that if he trusts her with his vision, she won't sabotage it. Instead, she'll protect it, nurture it, and add to it. That assurance gives him the freedom to dream bigger because he knows he's not carrying the weight alone. He's got a partner who's solid, someone who can hold her own and hold him accountable when needed. There's also something magnetic about watching someone value themselves. It makes you want to match that energy. A man who's around a woman with standards and self-respect feels inspired to rise to her level. If he was moving without direction, her example makes him think differently. If he already had vision, her energy sharpens it. That influence is subtle but powerful. She's not forcing him to grow. She's fueling his growth by showing him what it looks like to live with value. That kind of influence lasts far longer than words because it's rooted in action and presence. Value fuels vision because it adds clarity. A man knows that with a woman who values herself, he doesn't have to question loyalty, respect, or alignment. He doesn't have to spend energy second-guessing her intentions. That clarity frees him to put his full focus into the vision he's chasing, knowing that the person beside him is aligned with it. And that freedom, knowing your partner is solid, is what allows dreams to become reality. Without it, the vision struggles under the weight of doubt and imbalance. With it, the vision has space to grow without limits. Respect is the real currency because without it, nothing in a relationship holds value. Love might bring people together, attraction might spark the beginning, but respect is what sustains it. A man can admire beauty, enjoy charm, or be drawn to presence, but if he doesn't respect a woman, the connection won't last. When a woman values herself, she sets the stage for respect to exist. She doesn't beg for it, she doesn't chase it, she commands it by the way she lives, and that's what makes it priceless. Respect can't be bought, it can't be faked, and it can't be forced. It's earned and it's maintained. And when it's real, it becomes the strongest foundation a relationship can have. Respect is the currency that governs how people treat one another day in and day out. It's not about grand gestures. It's about the small, consistent things. It's how a man speaks to a woman when no one else is watching. It's how he considers her feelings before making decisions. It's how he recognizes her boundaries, her goals, her individuality, and treats them as seriously as his own. When a woman respects herself, she makes it clear from the start that she won't settle for anything less. That clarity forces him to either step up and match her standard or step away. Either way, respect is established as the non-negotiable currency of their bond. Without respect, even love turns sour. You can tell when someone says, "I love you," but doesn't act in a way that honors that love. They dismiss feelings, they cross boundaries, they play with trust. The words might still be there, but the foundation is gone. That's why men value women who respect themselves, because respect breeds respect. A man who sees her demand respect for herself knows he has to honor her if he wants to be part of her life. That mutual exchange becomes the glue that keeps everything together when emotions fade or challenges come. Respect also builds security. In a relationship where respect is strong, neither person feels the need to constantly test loyalty or question intentions. A man values that peace because it gives him room to focus on his growth and his goals. He doesn't have to waste energy on drama or insecurity because the respect between them keeps the relationship steady. A woman who values herself doesn't tolerate disrespect, so he knows if he crosses certain lines, he's out. That knowledge alone creates balance because it keeps both people accountable to one another. Respect as a currency shows up in growth too. When a man respects a woman, he doesn't just tolerate her dreams, he supports them. He doesn't see her ambitions as competition, but as fuel for their shared future. And when a woman respects herself, she makes sure that's the only kind of energy she'll accept. That standard forces a man to evolve if he wants to keep her in his life. It's not just about him being present, it's about him showing up in ways that honor her vision. That type of mutual respect makes growth possible on both sides, because neither person is holding the other back. Another layer of respect as currency is in the way it protects dignity. Disagreements will always happen, but when respect is the foundation, even conflict has limits. A man won't cross into insults, manipulation, or control if he truly respects the woman he's with. And she won't allow herself to be treated that way, because her self-respect makes it impossible. That dynamic preserves the bond, even through challenges. Instead of tearing each other down, they find ways to build each other up because the respect is stronger than the disagreement. When a woman carries herself with respect, she also influences the way others treat her in public and private spaces. A man values this deeply because he knows she's not only representing herself, but also the relationship. If she respects herself, others follow suit. Strangers, friends, co-workers, they sense her worth and respond accordingly. That reflection strengthens the man's admiration for her because he sees her impact beyond their personal connection. Our respect radiates outward, shaping how the world interacts with her and in turn with them as a unit. Respect is also rare, and rarity increases value. In a world where many relationships break because of betrayal, dishonor, or neglect, finding someone who truly respects themselves and demands the same is uncommon. That rarity makes it even more valuable to a man who understands its worth. He knows he can't take it lightly because once respect is broken, it's almost impossible to repair. That awareness makes him treasure it more, guard it more, and invest in it more. The truth is, respect outlasts everything else. Looks can fade, excitement can fade, circumstances can change, but respect doesn't age. It's timeless. It's the difference between a relationship that crumbles when tested and one that survives decades. When a woman values herself enough to insist on respect, she ensures that any man who chooses her is choosing not just her beauty or her love, but her essence, her dignity, and her strength. And for a man who's serious about life, there's no currency greater than that. At the end of it all, it comes down to this. When a woman values herself, she teaches the world how to value her. She doesn't lower her standards to fit anyone's comfort zone, and she doesn't chase approval to feel complete. She knows her worth. She protects it with her boundaries. She walks with confidence, and she moves with vision. And because of that, she earns the one thing that outlasts everything else: respect. A man values that kind of woman because he knows she's not just standing beside him, she's building with him. She's not just part of his presence, she's part of his legacy. She's not an option, she's an asset, a partner, a force. And in a world full of noise, games, and temporary distractions, finding someone who values themselves is like finding solid ground in the middle of a storm. So why does a man value the woman who values herself? Because she's rare, because she's real, because she makes everything around her rise higher. And because with her, the relationship isn't just love. It's growth, it's peace, it's respect, and it's forever.